thought I would do the rest of the video without the headset because this video is more about the message than it is about the device. So I want to talk about why is it so critical for leaders to manage stress in the workplace. We know that stress impacts a lot of things between our mind and our body and overall health and well-being. In addition to, of course, performance. And stress often, again, starts in the mind. It starts to express itself in our behaviors and the thoughts and actions. And that's what really can cause the performance impacts. So, as leaders, how can we stop our brains from getting hijacked by stress so that one, we can be well, and two, we can show up well and with excellence in the workplace, regardless of the stress that's happening around us? Well, that's the tie-in between why I'm doing this experiment with the V-Light, Neuro, and Vega. It's self-awareness. It all begins with understanding that stress is going to happen. Difficult situations are going to happen in life. And each of us needs to understand what are our limits. What are the things that are going to stress me out versus stress you out? And how do I want to take control of how I handle that? Because I might not be able to impact what stresses me, but I can definitely impact how I deal with that stress. So, how do you deal with stressful situations? The very first thing, and I talked about this in my first video, I'll link it in the description, is self-awareness. Self-awareness to understand what are my individual triggers. And especially as we get further and further into our careers, we have some good examples of what are the things that kind of set us off. And we know that perhaps will lead us into a spiral of stress. So it's incumbent upon us to reflect on our experiences in the workplace, to know what can potentially trigger stress so that we can understand what we might need to do to prevent burnout. And burnout happens when you find yourself in a perpetual state of stress. And it gets to the point where it's impacting your thinking, it's impacting how you show up at work, and worst case scenario, it impacts your health. So we definitely don't want to do that. So we begin by self-awareness, understanding who we are and what we need to do personally to manage our stress. That's why I'm trying out the V-Light Vegas. I want to know, in addition to journaling, in addition to walking, in addition to exercise and meditation, deep breathing, what other tools are out there that can potentially help me deal with my stress levels? And I also want to encourage, especially those fellow quiet leaders out there, my fellow introverts, we, more than I think anyone else in the workplace, really need to understand how to manage our stress because and I'm going to just speak for myself, and I know I'm going to be talking to some fellow introverts out there, but we get our energy, we get our power from going inwards. We have these elaborate thoughts and ideas, and we like our quiet time. And the workplace is not quiet time for most of us. It is about engaging, collaborating, and showing our cards, sometimes before the cards are fully baked. And all of that can put a stressor on an introvert. So as an introvert, we need to understand, one, kind of who are we? What are our triggers? And how do we manage our energy, right? Energy and effort, because a lot of times it's not about the amount of workload, but it's the energy that we put in the workload that we have to express when we're delivering that can cause the levels of stress. So on this video, I want to talk a little bit about what does energy management look like, starting with self-awareness, right? One is, what are the potential triggers that might show up in my work week? And number two is, okay, given those triggers, how do I need to manage the rest of my life that week so that I don't fall off the edge? So let's talk about it. What is energy management? Well, it optimizes your personal energy levels for your productivity and overall well-being. Think of your energy as your most valuable workplace currency, more important than time, because without energy, time alone accomplishes little. The energy audit template you see here helps you track where your energy goes throughout the workday. Most people are surprised to discover their biggest energy drains aren't what they expected. These categories of drains and gains reflect the four dimensions of energy: physical, emotional, mental, and purposeful. Complete energy management addresses all four categories. So let's walk through the components of each category: energy drains versus energy gains. First, let's talk about physical drains. That could be sleep, lack of sleep, long periods of sitting or sedentary behavior would also go into the drains category. Nutrition, like skipping meals or eating junk food or unhealthy snacks throughout the day. A lack of sufficient amount of water, too much screen time. Those are all examples of things that can drain your energy. Now, on the other side, when it comes to your physical energy, exercise, movement is in the gains category, as well as proper sleep hygiene and a consistent sleep schedule throughout the week. Of course, nutrition comes into play, so having a balanced, nutritious meals throughout the day at regular intervals is a boost, as well as adequate hydration and sunlight, especially for us who are indoors, away from a window, or sitting for long periods of time. Sunlight can be a very important energy gain physically. All right, so let's go to the next category: emotional energy. So, what are some of the things that can drain our emotional energy? Conflict, high conflict situations, especially. Excessive worry or rumination. Rumination is when those thoughts are stuck on repeat in our minds. Complaining or having negative conversations. And this also goes to being a witness of that. So, a witness to negative conversations or being a part of conversations that are negative or gossip in nature can often impact our own stress levels. Unaddressed interpersonal issues. So, that thing that you know you need to say but haven't been saying it, yeah, that takes away your energy, as well as emotional suppression, not fully expressing yourself, another energy drain. Let's talk about some of the things that are gains in the emotional energy category. Positive social connections. So perhaps that lunch and learn with colleagues. Maybe it's a after work get together or an outside of work activity on the weekends or time with friends. Gratitude practices, mindfulness and meditation, setting healthy boundaries, as well as celebrating small wins. All right, let's go to mental. Mental drains, multitasking, back to back meetings, right? So now we know all of our work, most of the work gets done through meetings, especially for those who are remote or hybrid, even, right? Our colleagues may not be in the same location as us. And so we're often in meetings for many hours of the day. Information overload, especially context switching, which means you might go from planning one project to participating in another project to overseeing or designing. You know, you're constantly moving topics throughout the day, which is causing some mental gymnastics. Perfectionism. Perfectionism is that nudge inside you that says it's never quite good enough. Yeah, that's an energy drain, as well as procrastination. Procrastination may be brought on by perfectionism, and you know that sense of, oh, you're not going to get it done, and the rush and hurriedness to get it done can cause stress to creep up, especially when it comes to your mental energy. All right, so what are some of the things that give us a positive boost in the mental energy department? Single tasking, right? So focusing on one thing at a time and getting in that flow. Strategic breaks, especially between demanding tasks. So it could be standing up to get a stretch, walking around the office, or ideally getting outside. Idea generation in optimal environments, right? So if you need to get creative, perhaps you might need to change your environment. And, you know, when those ideas start flowing, that can definitely be an energy boost. Learning and a new skill or development can be an energy boost, as well as creative activities, whether it's writing, painting, cooking, you name it. Those are all mental energy gains. Let's visit the last category, which is purposeful energy. What are some of the things that can drain our purposeful energy? Well, tasks that are not aligned to our core values, unclear priorities or goals, feeling stuck, or feeling like your work does not have any meaning, disconnecting from your organization mission, and not able to see the impact of your work. Those are all things that can drain a sense of purpose. Gains in this category looks like work that's aligned with your values, a clear connection between your daily tasks and meaningful goals, recognition of contribution and impact, mentoring or helping others, and service oriented activities. Now, these are all individual, energy gains and drains for these four different categories. So it's, of course, important to notice this for ourselves. But for those of us who are leading others and leading teams, this is also an important awareness to understand, are you fostering a healthy and a well-being within your workplace and within your teams? What are some of the things that you can control when it comes to these categories as far as fostering a positive environment for your employees and encouraging healthy energy management so that everyone can perform and deliver at high levels. So, what do you do after you have done your energy audit? You know what's draining you, where you might get a boost throughout the day and throughout the week. Again, I recommend, jotting that down, actually, taking a page of paper or somewhere online and jotting thoughtfully what are some of the things where you will be expending energy and where can you get that energy back. Once you have this baseline, you move over to reallocation, right? So you just like you do with your schedule, you do the same thing while looking at your energy. Where can you find times in the day and week where you can restore? And what do those restoration activities look like? Oftentimes, we don't live in ideal, right? We live in do the best with what we have. So given what we have, where are the spaces that we can make room for energy gains? And that is the whole value and the purpose of the energy management. It's taking control of over what stresses impact us and how stress impacts us by finding thoughtful pause and doing activities that keep us grounded in energy that serves us, that serves our sense of well being, our need for connection, and more importantly, helps us to do what we came to work to do, which is to perform with excellence.